let you know that if you need anything here at all while you're here, just let our security person, Quinn, know. And have a good time. I got another meeting, okay?
Hi, I'm Tom Cadis with the Rural Ethnic Institute. We're co-sponsoring this with the college. We're nearly 50 years old. We were set up to develop better relations between Native Americans and the settler folks. And we've worked for 40 years on nonpartisan voter education with the tribal colleges. Chaz Jewett did a wonderful job 20 years ago for us, the best ever. Registered more than 5,000 voters in South Dakota and 65% turnout. And she's come out of retirement to help us again. Dave Archambault is one of our board members. Very impressive background. He's got so many titles, it will take forever. But he was president of what was then Standing Rock College, now Sitting Bull College. Yep, to Sitting Bull. And he was also past president of the American Indian College Fund, which was founded in the Phelps Stokes Fund, where I started. And he was president of that for all 37 colleges throughout the United States. He's also chairman of the board of ABLE, American Indian Business Leaders. This promotes entrepreneurship at each of the tribal colleges. So without much ado, and we will have Janine Peace, another one of our board members, zooming in the second half. So Dave, come on up and run it.
Well, good afternoon, listeners. It's a real pleasure to be here today. This voting business is big front and center today, especially with the elections coming up in the 5th, this coming Tuesday. So I'm real happy, like Tom, having our Rural Ethnic Institute working on getting tribal voters involved with voting, as well as the college here. And I know that's always been a big issue for the colleges. I ran Sitting Bull College a long time ago, and I've always had as the other tribal college presidents, the need to try to educate our people and make good decisions regarding voting. So today, I just wanted to give that welcome, and then I'd like to introduce, have the candidates that are involved. This is
Dave, I'm going to interrupt. Is it okay if you sit up here by Tom?
I was going to have to hand this around, right?
Well, I know, but we can do that. But we need to be able to see you on. No, that's okay. We need to be able to see you.
We need that, Dave.
And I will pass it back from forth.
Okay, I didn't know that. I thought
No, that's okay. That's okay.
And Chaz, we've got the cards there for a minute and a half to move, so you want to time that.
Okay, Catherine, would you come and time that, please?
I'm right here, or where am I at?
You're
Okay.
good now, right? He's in there. Okay. There you go.
Rassafras, my stuff's there. Okay, are we back on or what? Okay, sorry.
A minute and a half and 2 minutes. Just take, as they come up, they each get 2 minutes.
We have some staging difficulties here, so we're past that now. So
Just sit there and
we're going to go on to the candidates. They each have a minute and a half to talk.
2 minutes.
2 minutes to talk. So I would like to start off with Dean Shrimp, the Democratic candidate. He's running for the Senate, District 28 Senate candidates. 2 minutes, Dean.
2 minutes. I can sit right here? Okay.
Just keep the mic close to your...
Okay, I guess I got 2 minutes to talk. I guess I could talk a long time, but I guess I'll quit at 2 minutes. I'm running for the Senate for the simple reason is I've spent 22 years in the Senate, not in the House, in Pierre, and I feel I can just go right into doing things that need to be done. A few of the things that I've done in the past, I've been a member of RCAF and the stock growers, and I've been airport manager. I'm the one that got the Eagle Butte Airport started. A lot of them say it was Bachman or whatever, but I'm the one that was in Pierre at the time, and I got the airport started because they was landing out in my fields with air ambulances, and that was too dangerous to do that. So, excuse me. Then we started the airport in Eagle Butte, and also I was Dewey County Commissioner for 8 years, and I also am a private pilot, and I've been around the loop quite a few times, listening to people and asking what they'd like to have done. And I was the deciding vote in Pierre the last session I was there, and you can check the records, to give the teachers a raise. The governor called me in his office the last day and wanted me to switch my vote, but I wouldn't do it. And that was my number one deal in Pierre, was to vote the teachers' pay raise in. So I think that was a big thing that is pulling for me all these years. And also I was started the UPL clinic in Eagle Butte. Governor Mickelson helped me. We got money, and we got the UPL clinic going. So I guess my time is up, so I guess I'll have to release it to somebody else and go from there.
Okay, we have an introduction from Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam Marty from Prairie City, Perkins County. I've lived all my life in Perkins and Harding County. Went to a very small country school through the 8th grade, and then graduated out of Newell, South Dakota. After graduation from high school, I went to Black Hills State for 1 year and then moved back to my family's ranch. 1968, I was drafted into the Army and was sent to Vietnam and spent almost 15 months there. I was awarded the Purple Heart for wounds I received from a landmine explosion. December 1969, I saw me back at the ranch, and have been there ever since. I have 3 daughters and 2 stepdaughters and 5 grandkids. I have served 8 years as a representative for District 28 and sat out for 2 years. I had several phone calls encouraging me to run again, so here I am. And I'm a member of RCAF and Stock Growers. So thank you very much for listening.
Next we'll have Jana. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, you first. Okay. Jana's up next.
Hello, my name is Jana Hunt, and I want to thank you guys for hosting this and giving us an opportunity to introduce ourselves. I am running for District 28A, House of Representatives. I was born and raised on Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe, and I'm an enrolled member. I believe that knowing your constituents, knowing where you're from is important. My great-grandma was Your grandma's a Republican. The reason she's a Republican is she doesn't want the government to tell her what to do, and she doesn't want any strings attached to her money. Those are the foundational reasons why I'm running on the Republican ticket. Now, I'm a rancher, and I'm a registered nurse. I graduated from SDSU in 2019 with my nursing degree. I started my first ever nursing job in Eagle Butte. I worked there for 2 years, and then I wanted to expand my nursing experience and decided to become a traveling nurse. I've been fortunate enough to travel across the United States as a nurse. I feel that ranching and nursing have given me a unique opportunity to know more about the challenges that we have here in rural South Dakota. I also decided to become a substitute teacher in Dupree School, where I went to grade school, because that's another challenging area in these rural communities is education, and I've learned a lot through that experience. However, the reason that I decided to put my life on hold to run for District 28A House of Representatives was over the RL21 SB 201 issue. The federal government and the state are abusing their powers, and they're coming after land rights, but not just land rights, you guys. It's a way of life. They're coming after the way that we live our lives. And I thought that this is a big enough issue that I need to put my life on the back burner and step up to the plate and fight for South Dakota. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Jana. That was Jana Hunt running for the House of Representative 28A. And next we have Carl Peterson.
Hamadakyapi, Wichakpi Luta Hemia, Wasichunchaze, Carl Peterson, O Henupa Hemantahan, Wakpawashte Hemantahan, Blipa Alwati. My name is Carl Peterson, and I'm O Henupa Lakota, member of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe from Eagle Butte. I'm running for the South Dakota House of Representatives, District 28A, as a Democrat. I decided to run for this race as I felt that our people needed a voice to be heard. At the time that I put my petition in, I didn't know anyone else was running, and I thought it was really important that we have a voice up in Pierre. I'm a teacher at the Cheyenne Eagle Butte School where I went to school, the Cheyenne River Agency Indian Boarding School. So that, a legacy. My family's been in Eagle Butte 3 generations. Grandpa was one of the first Indians to go to school at the district school here, and I think it's really important that our people be heard up there, whether it's education, roads, healthcare. These are all issues that the state still has some control over on the reservation and still has some decisions in funding. So that's why I'm running for the House of Representatives.
Thank you, Carl. Hey, next there are 7 voting measures besides that. Thank you for the introductions by the candidates for these important seats in Senate House in South Dakota government. But the ballot measures, Amendment E, gender neutral terms for office holders. Amendment F, Medicare work requirements. Amendment G, constitutional right to an abortion. Amendment H, open primaries. IM 28 is a tax on anything for human consumption. IM 29 is recreation marijuana, and Senate Bill 201 is pipeline. And I'm going to let Tom come up, and each candidate will have will ask for where each candidate stands on it, and if they want to talk, they have 2 minutes. Here you go.
We'd like to see a show of hands on Amendment E. This is an amendment to the South Dakota Constitution updating gender references for certain office holders and persons. It would replace "he shall be commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the state" to "the governor shall be commander-in-chief." And a vote yes changes the Constitution to use gender-neutral language. A vote no keeps the Constitution as is. I'd just like to see a show of hands for yes. Okay, and a show of hands for no. Okay, any of you that want to speak to your position, Carl, you were the only one that voted yes, so we'll start with you, but if any of the rest of you want to speak to that, you have 2 minutes.
I want to start by saying that how we vote on these issues is no more important than any South Dakotan, right? It's a constitutional amendment. The only way to change the Constitution of the state of South Dakota is by a ballot initiative. This ballot initiative seeks to update the Constitution that was written in 1889 so that it more accurately reflects the people that we have in these positions today, right? The governor is a woman, yet the Constitution says he shall do this and he shall do that. Right, it's not the biggest issue in the world, but I think it has very small impact on the state, and it's always important to, realize who we are at the time as a state, and that our founding documents, I think, should, really show that who we are now in 2024 is a lot different than who we were in 1889, and so that's important to me, and that's why I voted yes.
And Jana Bean, Carl is your opponent if you wanted to speak to that. And it's up to you guys if you want to speak to it or just move on to another issue. Go ahead, Jana.
When I vote, I take constitutional amendments very seriously. And when we change the Constitution, we have to 100% believe in what we're changing. This amendment, I don't think is dangerous. However, I question the cost of time and the cost of money. Is this worth the exchange? And I don't believe it is, and that is why I voted no.
If either of you senators want to speak to it, fine. If not, we'll move on to Amendment F. I guess we'll move on to Amendment F. This is an amendment to the South Dakota Constitution authorizing the state to impose a work requirement on individuals eligible for expanded Medicaid benefits. It allows the legislature to impose work requirements, does not include any specific work requirement, and any work requirement requires federal approval. A vote yes allows the legislature to adopt work requirements for able-bodied working age. A vote no prohibits the state legislature from imposing work requirements for Medicaid coverage. I'd like to see a show of hands for those that are voting yes. And a show of hands for those voting no. Okay, we have a split. Let's go with the two senators. They haven't had a chance to speak yet. So either of you have 2 minutes to speak to why you're voting.
I just think that Amendment F is a very important amendment that we need, that it requires us to get out and hustle a little bit. And just remember, if this passes as a yes, it doesn't automatically go into effect because the federal government has to approve it first.
Well, I don't believe in this amendment because I don't think that it's been researched enough. I went to a meeting in Newell where the Attorney General talked on this, and he recommended or said he would like to have a no vote on this one because I don't think it's been worked up enough to know really all the requirements that's going to be affected by this. So that's the reason I voted no.
And unless you House candidates want to talk to it, we'll move on to, you want to? Okay, and then Janet, you would get your turn as well.
Hi, Carl Peterson for 28A. The reason I voted no on F is because 2 years ago, the people of South Dakota voted to expand Medicaid. And for those of you, on the radio, you might not have seen, but when they asked, do we want to add a work requirement or give the state the ability to add a work requirement, the two Democrats in the room raised our hand. No, we don't want to give the state that power. The two Republicans said, yes, we want to give the state the power to make it harder to get on Medicaid for the people of South Dakota. Again, this bill doesn't automatically do that. It's illegal under federal law right now for a state to require a work requirement. This just gives the state the ability to do so if the feds ever changed it. So it's a really kind of convoluted thing to change the Constitution to. And again, this is really weird to me. Republicans who would usually say, more bureaucracy, we heard from my opponent, is the cost worth it? Is the cost worth it of hiring state employees and putting out forms to make it more difficult for people to get on Medicaid, putting another barrier in front of South Dakotans who, need help the most? So that's why I voted no on F.
And Jana, if you want to give your response or pass. Okay. Next is Amendment G. This would establish a constitutional right to an abortion and provide a legal framework for the regulation of abortion. In the first trimester, no regulations may be imposed on women's decision to get an abortion. Second trimester, any regulation of pregnant women's abortion decision or an abortion during the second trimester must be reasonably related to the physical health of the pregnant woman. Third trimester allows the prohibition of abortion except in the cases where the abortion is necessary to preserve the health of the pregnant woman. Amendment G, a yes vote establishes a constitutional right to an abortion. A no vote maintains the Constitution as is, leaving the regulation of abortion to the legislature. And I want to give a little bit of history here. This goes back about 20 years. In 2005, there was a trigger law passed by the legislature, and that's what we're living under now. That trigger law said the only exception was for health of the mother. There's no exceptions for rape or incest. And that trigger came into being after Roe versus Wade was passed. Back 20 years ago, twice there were anti-abortion issues, and both of those were defeated largely by West River from Native American voters and libertarian ranchers. So that's a little bit of history. Those of you voting yes to establish a constitutional right. Okay, one, and the rest of you are all no. Carl, do you want to speak to that? And then Janet. And you guys can do the same.
Hi, my name is Carl Peters. I'm running for District 28. I voted yes on G. This is the constitutional amendment to the state of South Dakota to establish a right for abortion under certain circumstances. Right now, South Dakota's law prohibits abortion in the event of a rape, and it's been basically impossible for women, even if it is going to cause the death of a woman. They often are waiting too late right now. South Dakota's law says if it is not an immediate danger to life, they cannot induce an abortion. So doctors are, it seems, afraid to save women's life until it's absolutely necessary, which is sometimes too late. So this would open that up and allow doctors to make those decisions with their patients instead of having the government make the decision for them. And that's why I voted yes on G.
And Janet, do you want to speak to that? And we'll get to you guys as well. Chaz, these are all on the slides if you just roll them down. We're on Amendment G right now.
I am a hard no on Amendment G, and I'll tell you why. I first and foremost believe in the sanctity of life. I do not believe in abortion. However, if you do believe in abortion, Amendment G is a horrible abortion bill. It is a change to the Constitution. I want to read this one line in this amendment for you real quick. The amendment establishes that during the first trimester, a pregnant woman's decision to obtain an abortion may not be regulated, nor may regulations be imposed on carrying out an abortion. Okay. We passed Roe versus Wade in the 70s. That line in this amendment defeats the purpose of Roe versus Wade. We wanted to protect women from having clothes hanger abortions. That first trimester says that clothes hanger abortions would be legal. In layman's terms, a father could impregnate his daughter, not want to take the consequences for that, force a clothes hanger abortion in a back bedroom, and there would be no legal repercussion at all. What business do we have legalizing clothes hanger abortions? That is my first major issue with this particular amendment. It's a constitutional amendment. Our legislators cannot change this. They cannot impose any laws underneath that first line. That is scary. We really need to read this amendment. Second to that, in the third trimester, this allows for abortions up till the day of labor. 9 months. You could be going into active labor and still have an abortion. That is concerning. So for those two main reasons, I would encourage anybody who believes in safe abortions to vote no on this one. I'm personally voting no because I don't believe in any abortion. But if you believe in having safe abortions, do not vote for an amendment that will legalize clothes hanger abortions. Thank you.
Sure. Both of you, well, quick response.
So the quick response to that is that if you've read the Constitution of the United States of America, any law that the states make is law only so far as it doesn't conflict with federal law. So clothes hangers abortions are illegal federally. There's quite a few things, non-doctor abortions are illegal. Practicing medicine without a license is illegal. Assault is illegal. Rape is illegal. All of these things are illegal both in the state of South Dakota and federally. And this law, as it reads, says no regulation imposed on a woman's decision to get an abortion. So the decision of that woman to get an abortion, now again under current federal and state laws, there's a safe way to do that in a healthcare setting. Those other ways have other laws that say it is illegal, again, to practice medicine illegally without a license outside of a hospital, illegal to assault somebody, right? If you are going into someone's body and doing something, that is assault, battery, right? Those things are illegal. And so, I think this, while not perfectly written, is the best chance for South Dakota to give women a chance, if they've been raped or if their life is in danger, if the child does not have a chance of living outside of the womb. Right now, still cannot get an abortion in South Dakota, even if that child does not have a chance. And so this, returns healthcare decisions to women and doctors.
And our senators?
Yes, excuse me. I'd like to have a big no on this one. I don't believe in no abortions, and I think they should be totally limited to maybe at the person's wife or the wife is in danger of being death. I don't think we should have no abortions whatsoever. I'm totally against this one.
Just a little story. My first grandson ended up in NICU hospital in Minneapolis, and he was full term, 9 months. But my daughter said that when she went by all the babies in the NICU, there was babies in there that were living that were smaller than her hand, and she's a small girl. So I'm totally against abortion just because of what can live outside the womb. And so this abortion up to 9 months, no, not a starter for me. Thanks.
We'll move on to Amendment H, and you can just pull it down on the slide too. Amendment H establishes a top 2 primary election. It creates one primary election wherein all candidates run against each other in their respective races, including major and minor party and unaffiliated candidates. All voters can participate in the primary. Candidates may select the party to be listed next to their name on the ballot. It applies to races for governor, state legislature, county office, U.S. Senate, and U.S. House of Representatives. A yes vote establishes a top 2 primary election system. A no vote maintains the current party primary system. And I'd just like to add a point that isn't frequently made. The Democrats do allow independents to vote in their primary. But let's see a show of hands, those that would vote yes to establish the top 2 primary. No one. Well, let's move on then. That's great. We have a total consensus on H. Initiated Measure 28 prohibits taxes on anything sold for human consumption. Human consumption not defined in state law. However, common definition includes more than foods and drinks. Does not include alcohol or prepared foods. Questions on municipal impacts. 120 to 180 million budget impact. And I want to give a little history on this. I was in the Senate in 2007, and for well over 100 years, 120 years, we had no tax on food in this state. And that was done under Governor Rounds with majority support in 2007. So there's been tax on food since. We're, I think, one of only 3 states that has a tax on food. But initiated measure, a yes vote prohibits the state from taxing anything sold for human consumption. A no vote maintains the current tax structure. Let's see a show of hands on yes. Okay, only one. Carl? Yeah. You want to come and speak to it?
So I voted yes on Initiated Measure 28. I think it's wrong for the state to get most of its income from its poorest people. This is anybody who buys groceries pays this tax, and it funds, again, education. It's the biggest part of South Dakota's tax money, right? Goes to education, roads, and Medicaid being 2 and 3. Those are really important things, and we really do need, a state government to provide them. That's the whole reason the state exists. But I don't think we should be, digging into the pockets of the poorest people to cover them. There's other people in the state, businesses, corporations that could be paying their fair share that aren't. One thing with this bill, is if tobacco is not taxed, that's one thing that the legislature, is going to have to talk about. Should we tax tobacco or not? So I voted yes on 28. I don't think it's perfect, but it is wrong, in my opinion, morally, ethically, to tax the poorest people first. So we need to stop that, find better ways to fund South Dakota and the endeavors of the state.
And Janet, do you want to speak to it? Or?
So I'll repeat, I take constitutional changes seriously. I voted no on this because it does say anything sold for human consumption. That is not defined. This is not specifically a food grocery tax bill. If that were the case, I would say food or food ingredients. This is anything sold for human consumption. That, again, isn't defined. I can't vote yes for this, so I voted no.
And both you senators are voting no, so do you want to speak to it?
If this bill would pass as written, your local towns would not be able to tax anything. So they would be without an income to fund their schools, their streets, their bridges, and stoplights, whatever. So this is a very poorly written bill.
And Dean, you want to say anything to it or pass? Okay, our next one is Initiated Measure 29. This would legalize the recreational use, possession, and distribution of marijuana. Recreational use for adults 21 years and older. Laws can still prohibit operating vehicles, schools, anywhere tobacco is prohibited or public places. Businesses can still make decisions about their employees. IM27 failed in 2022 by a 47 to 52% margin. An Initiated Measure 29, a yes vote, legalizes recreational marijuana for adults 21 years and older. A no vote maintains the current illegal status. Is there anyone voting yes? And the rest of you are no. Well, Carl, do you want to come up?
Hi, Carl Peterson, running for the South Dakota House of Representatives, District 28A. I voted yes on Initiated Measure 29 to legalize recreational marijuana. Again, the people voted in 2020 to legalize recreational, medical, and hemp. That was struck down by the governor in court, took it to the Supreme Court, and they decided that it didn't have standing as multi-issue. This is not a constitutional amendment, it's an initiated measure. And so like the last one on taxes, initiated measures can be changed or completely repealed by the state legislature. They're something that the people bring, and then if the legislature sees issues with it, if they need to tweak it, they have that ability. Whereas with a constitutional amendment, it cannot be changed by the legislature, it can only be changed by the people. So initiated measure 29 would bring much needed revenue to the state, especially if 28 passes and the grocery tax is gone. The tobacco tax might be gone temporarily if it's not held up in the courts. So there will be a budget deficit if that passes. And so one of the ways to fill that budget deficit is by legalizing and taxing marijuana. Marijuana is smoked in almost every town, every city in South Dakota right now. It's under the medical program, legal in South Dakota, despite being federally illegal. This would just make it across the board that if you buy marijuana in South Dakota, you pay a tax. And again, it would be illegal for people under 21 to buy, maybe allow more regulation as the state would have a budget to regulate marijuana instead of criminalize it. Right now in South Dakota, if you smoke and you're, non-Indian, non-black, you probably aren't going to jail. It's mostly people of color who are sitting in South Dakota jails for smoking marijuana. And again, this would even the playing field so that those people would no longer be arrested, for selling. There'd be a legal way to sell, and no longer arrested for consumption or possession.
Jana, do you want to speak to that?
So I'm voting no on this one. As a registered nurse, we care for people, right? Did you know that marijuana stunts development of brain growth, correct? Okay, that's the well-studied, well-found. Did you know that a male's brain isn't fully developed until he's 25 years old? So if this passes, from the ages of 21 to 25, we are passing a law or passing an initiated measure that would encourage people to stunt brain development in males between the ages of 21 and 25 years old. I think people need to know that. Secondly, we have a drug abuse issue in this nation, in this state, and in this district. Should we be passing bills or initiated measures that encourage and support a foundation of drug use? Now, I'm a registered nurse. You can make an argument to me that medical marijuana helps people with pain in the process of dying and just coping with pain. I've taken care of hospice patients that would rather smoke marijuana or use marijuana versus fentanyl, morphine, other alternative routes. I'll listen to that argument. I might even be convinced to support that argument. Recreational marijuana, where's the proof that it enhances anyone's life? Because I'll tell you, I'm a substitute teacher in Dupree. Those children are on IEPs. They have they struggle to learn. Why is that? Is it because of the drug abuse that we have in our district? Is it because of the alcohol abuse that we have in our district? We don't know the effects of secondhand smoke of marijuana on these children. There haven't been a ton of studies. I am against passing a measure that will further promote the detriment of growth for young people. And it's not just these little kids. Again, 21 to 25-year-old males, we're going to be stunting their brain development. Beyond that, the secondhand smoke could be stunting children development. That's why I'm voting no.
And both of you are the same. Do you want to speak to it? Okay.
I spent 15 months in Vietnam, and I saw the effects of what marijuana did to even our soldiers over there. I was nearly killed along with half a dozen of my fellow man over there because an artillery battery got to smoking dope over there and were lobbing rounds over our compound. And I look at marijuana as it's the same thing as alcohol. And we all know what alcohol does to all kinds of races and people. So just legalizing marijuana is flat out wrong. Just think of marijuana as alcohol.
And Dean, do you want to speak to it? Or it's up to you, or pass? It's up to you if you want to speak to it.
Yes, I'm totally against marijuana. I got people from Colorado and Montana that's got marijuana stores right next to the schools. And what else can we do to these kids besides giving them more of free access to marijuana? This bill should have never passed the legislature to begin with. It's a no-no vote for me.
Okay, and our final issue is Referred Law 21. This is a referendum on SB 201, Referred Act to provide new statutory requirements for regulating linear transmission facilities to allow counties to impose a surcharge on certain pipeline companies and to establish Landover Bill of Rights. This would include $1 per linear foot surcharge, 50% distribution as property tax relief, PUC permit supersedes local authority. It establishes drain tile protections, establishes a 5 year easement deadline. Referred Law 21, a yes vote allows the act of the legislature to become law. A no vote rejects the law of the legislature. Do we have any yes votes? Okay, so this is unanimous, no votes. Does anyone want to speak to it? You all are voting the same.
I'll speak to it just so our voters out there can hear. So the reason that this was brought to the table was because they were trying to put a CO2 pipeline in the eastern part of our state. They couldn't get it done, so the pipeline paid a lot of lobbyists to go down to Pierre to form a new bill called SB 201 that would allow this pipeline to go in place. This is a forced play by out of state, out of country money to change the laws in South Dakota so they have more of a say of what happens here in South Dakota. South Dakota's not happy about it. It's on the ballot. We need to vote no to tell those people to take their money elsewhere.
Okay, Carl, if you want to speak as well.
This is one I voted no on. One of the biggest things in the summary doesn't quite, could you go back to the last page? Doesn't quite get to the bottom of it. It says that the PUC permit supersedes local authority. The way the bill reads, the PUC must grant them a permit if the county doesn't. If the benefit of the pipeline doesn't hurt anything, it says they must. And what this really does is allows the pipeline company to sue the PUC if they vote no under this law, that it would make it so that the pipeline would have to go through. It kind of removes it from the PUC into the courts if they don't vote no. And it removes it from the local counties who've already said they don't want it, right? The local control that said they don't want a pipeline within so many feet of a school. They don't want a pipeline within so many feet of a house. Those are the setbacks that currently exist that this bill and this pipeline company want to get rid of so that they can put their pipeline through. I'm anti-pipeline, no matter, unless it's carrying water. I really don't think we need to be putting carbon through our ground, and that's just setting it up to break and cause a lot of pain for the people in our communities. So that's why I voted no on 21.
Do either of your senators want to talk to that? If not, that wraps up the views on the issues. Mr. Moderator, you can ask any questions you like of any of the candidates or beam in some of our people that are standing by. So this is back to Dave Archambault, moderator of the forum.
Yes, I want to thank you guys for your comments. It was very informative, and I think our listeners got to understand that there are some very important things, reasons why you should vote one way or the other. So we're all in favor of voting and stating your rights. Does anybody have any questions, and would you like to do a follow-up, wrap-up of what's at stake here for yourself or for these districts or this or the tribe? Anybody would like any comments? Okay. I guess Dean, would you like to have some closing remarks? We're way ahead. I think we thought we'd go, so we got time to do this.
You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
let's say
We had one in Cincy Gillespie that went on for half an hour.
Okay.
none of that.
And you lost votes because of it. So
Well, I thank you for the opportunity to be here. I think people need more education on a lot of these bills. I've went to quite a few meetings where these bills was all discussed by people that's supposed to be a lot smarter than me and probably are a lot smarter than me. But according to what we voted here is pretty much on what I found out by going other places. But there's a few bills on here that definitely don't need to be passed. And I just wish, hopefully, that the people that come out and vote and support the people that's running for offices and listen to what they have to say and what they have done in the past and kind of go from there. So I think it was a great forum, and I'm glad I was involved in it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dean. Sam, here you go.
I'm in the way.
Thank you. I'm Sam Marty again. I just think that most or all of these amendments and these initiated measures were poorly thought out, poorly written, and there was a hidden agenda probably in a lot of these amendments, and mainly like on that pipeline 201. It's all basically all about money for just a handful of people. Takes the rights away from our local rancher, farmer, even the person that lives in town. So it's just, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here in Eagle Butte and to try to represent. I represent all the people, not just a select few. So thanks.
Hello again, everybody. This is Carl Peterson running for South Dakota House District 28. I want to say, no matter what happens, these are up to the people, right? And so however the people vote, that's what I'm going to appear to do is to respect the voice of our people, to champion the voice of our people, protect the laws that you put in there as voters. That's what I'm going to do. So whatever way it goes, that's what I'm going to appear to do. And that are so many other issues that aren't on the ballot this year that, if it's an issue for you, let me know, because that's the reason I'm going to appear, is to represent, like Sam said, all the people of our district. Doesn't matter what party you are, what gender, what age, everyone's voice matters. And there are things, that the state has done that affect our people here in Eagle Butte, in Cheyenne River, Standing Rock, even all the way over to Perkins County. There are things that the state legislature has done, that the state government has done, and some things they haven't done that really affect our communities. And so that's why I'd ask for your vote on Tuesday, November 5th, to go to Pierre and really, represent all of us in Pierre in the state legislature.
This is Jana Hunt again. I just want to state that we have an amazing place where we live. District 28A, Western South Dakota, is blessed. We need to preserve our way of life here and protect the people that live here. South Dakota's in hot water. We've got a lot of foreign companies trying to take over a lot of what happens here. We need to send someone down to Pierre that is going to protect our way of life as we see it and live it today. That's why I ran, because I do not want my future to change. I love the culture that we have here. And yes, there are things that need to be improved, but we should not be destroying the foundation of what we live with and how we live. So my main goal is to represent the entirety of District 28A, to preserve our way of life, and to protect the people that live here. Because like I said before, South Dakota, Cheyenne River, Standing Rock, Perkins, Hardin County, Western South Dakota, that's the lifestyle that's at danger, not urban city, rural lifestyles. And I thank you guys for hosting this today.
Thank you, Jenna. There's Dean Shrimp would also like to make another one, and it's open for everybody. We have a little time, so please, if you have something comes to your mind that you'd like to address to help the voters make good decisions, here we go. Dean?
Yeah, I'd like to make one more little comment. You people don't know what it's like in Pierre. I spent 22 years down there, and we need people down there. When a bill comes up, we need people to come and support it. Don't just say you're coming and then nobody shows up. We need people down there. It takes the people to do this, not us. We can lead the way, but we need people to come down there that's got some ideas and some good things to talk about. That's what we need in Pierre. And I missed that all the years that I was down there. A lot of times the bill come up, nobody was there to talk about it. So, but anyway, that's all I have to say for now, and I want to thank you again, and I hope to see you in Pierre. Thank you again.
I think we're okay. Well, we that concludes the candidates discussion on these. Yes, Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to do some comments that relates to that.
Okay, here Tom has a few comments.
Yes, this is part of a larger effort going on in North Dakota, Montana, and Minnesota. And these projects were set up at the last minute. They are all nonpartisan, nonprofit, so they're to encourage good citizen engagement, especially in Indian country. Janine Peace, who we're still hoping to come on, is in Montana. Over 20 years ago, we worked together. She's also on the REI board, and they're together with 4 tribal women. They have set up a marvelous outreach to Indian country. As a consequence, they have 12 Native American legislators with about 6.5% of the total population. Here in South Dakota, we have 4 with about 10% of the population. So compared to Montana, we have a long way to go. We're going to follow this up with a forum at the Lakota Nation Education Conference in tandem with LNI in December, and we'd like to invite all of you back at that time to brainstorm further. And sometimes State Tribal Relations has their committee meeting in tandem with that. The other thing is there's a group called Americans for Prosperity. They are funded by a couple of billionaire brothers, but they are encouraging a number of us who were former legislators to help educate new people coming into the process. And I think people who've been there before, like Sam and Dean, myself, in the good old days, we got along pretty well. We had our differences of views as parties, as individuals, but we talked across the aisle, we compromised, and I think generally delivered pretty good government. So that's one of the things Americans for Prosperity is working on. They're doing a follow-up meeting in November, and hopefully at the Lakota Nation Education Conference, we'll have more focus on this, and especially for the new legislators coming in. All of us who served know about this. You receive training sessions, but I think those could be greatly expanded. I work quite a bit in the private sector of philanthropy, of corporate foundations, and we don't have a large presence here in the state, but we had a very good forum about 2 months ago, and I'm recommending to LRC that they incorporate what the private sector is doing in this state as well, so that as legislators come in, they have an idea of where the private sector might be able to support constructive programs regardless of party or where you're at. So I don't know if anyone else has any final comments. If not, I'd like to thank our moderator, Dave Archambault, and KIPI and KLND, Chaz Jewett, who wears many hats, manager of KIPI here, but also coordinating our nonpartisan Native American Get Out to Vote effort here in South Dakota.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a few comments regarding this opportunity that our listeners have. And I'm not sure if KLND's on board or broadcasting this or not, but let me say I certainly want to extend my appreciation and thanks for KIPI in doing this. KIPI? Yeah, okay, cool. That's great. I had a lot to do with the station at in Little Eagle, South Dakota, KLND. Jana Lewis Gipp came and asked me if to help out. I was president of the college at the time, and I've done a lot of grant writing, and this building over here, that cultural center, that's $1 million. I wrote a proposal for that for this college to receive that. The one at Pine Ridge, the one at Rosebud, and these various colleges all had an opportunity to a shot at this money. So I think I got 15 or 16 of them funded. I just say I had Jan asked me to help out with this, so we wrote a proposal to the FCC, Federal Commission on that oversees this, and they have a pot of money. So we wrote a big, thick proposal, probably about a 4-incher, a ring binder, 4 inches thick, to get KLND going. And so I know Jana and I, when she came to me and stated why she'd like to have it, it was just beautiful. You know, we had no means of broadcasting important things such as this broadcast right now, how important this stuff is to listeners. But at the time, Standing Rock didn't have that. So we got the thing done. But what it does is it gives our people, tribal members on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, the chance to say, hey, we got birthdays coming, we got a district meeting coming, and there's all the programs that might be that are offered. It's great news, kind of more or less Indian news, Native American calling, stuff like that gives us a larger view of Indian information. So it's all helps in growth. So I really want to say that this is I know Tom Eaglestaff was the one who orchestrated this and put this thing together for the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, and I really want to extend. I know that's a lot of work, and we should all pat him on the back anytime we see him, because we get to enjoy things just such as this. That's so important. Measures on recreational marijuana, abortion. That's the big one nationally. These are big issues, and you heard some really good comments that help you understand. It's all about it, and then it's up to you to do it, to make a vote and cast your way. I want to say I was just talking to, I have some fellows that work for me, and I asked them just recently, I said, are you guys going to vote? And they're in their mid-30s. And they said, nope. So I said, why is that? And he said, it really, they're just disenfranchised, basically, is what they said. It just, what we say doesn't matter. And I get that. I really do. I get that. A lot of the stuff is not of our doing. It's not of our government that we have. But I think there are things. I stand for people, that everybody having the right to a point of view. And a lot of times you run it from having a point of view, you establish it, and you get it from information that helps you establish your point of view. And if there's something really disturbing, then you get what you call dissident. You get dissidents. You get people who say, I'm against that. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing, that we have that ability. And right now, that's every human being's right. Voting, the ability to vote, gives you that, makes you stand up. And even if you think it doesn't count, you are developing your own personality. You are developing yourself. And it's a great way to demonstrate that. And when somebody asks you what you're voting, you should, I'm voting this way or that way. I believe in this. I was asked to come to University of Colorado, and they had a big forum there, and they asked me to speak on, on the point of view of the DAPL pipeline in North Dakota that went through. And I would just say and that's dissident. So our tribe and most all the tribes were against this. And there was also on that forum, there was, excuse the name, it's called, this is them. This is a Russian dissident group standing up to the Russian government. And it's Pussy Riot. That's the name of the crew. They've done some really, they stand out. They're continuing to stand up. They're a rock band that speaks to dissidents. But again, I just say, if you establish something one way or the other, that is a beautiful ability that we have. We have an intellect, and we have a right and we should express that right. And I just say voting is such a thing. Even though we think it isn't important, the voting is so important to your own being. You being who you are and why you are. You know, I just want to say I'd like to go into a little bit of a historical perspective. We do have some time here. I'd like to talk about traditional tribal government and the way I understand this. I've done reading, and I understand this, that our tribal leaders. Now we got some leaders right here that we're talking today: Dean and Sam, Jan and Carl. They would like to go to the government and represent the people that are here. So they'll be the leaders here. In the old days, the way I understand it, the women were very, very powerful in this regard. Very powerful. They were the ones that would, the men went and did their thing, but they took care of the children. And in doing so, a child could walk out and it was under the care of all that camp right there. Well, those ladies saw these children all along in their upcoming, and they were the ones, understand them, when a man back in the old days married a woman, he married into a political group of women. A Teoshbae was primarily made up of relatives, women connected together. So like when a young girl married somebody else from you wanted to mix the blood, so it was somebody from afar, another tribe. When that happened, and it was concurred, the man and the woman would they would when the women would help the lady when the parents agreed to have the marriage, the women would make the home. And this took about 18 buffalo hides. And I don't know if anybody's tried to tan a deer hide, much less a buffalo hide, but it's a lot of work. So what happened is these women relatives of that young lady that was getting married, built, tanned these hides. And now you understand that you got to work the hell out of them, because you got to get it real thin, get the buffalo hide real thin so it could be carried. If you put 18 buffalo hides folded up made into a teepee, that puppy is heavy. My son has one. It's like it takes 4 grown men to put that thing up, man. And back in the day, a woman could take it down and head out in 10, 15 minutes. So the women, a guy just didn't walk into this setting and just say, hey, this is the way things are going to be. But there was a woman political group sitting in power there, and they the men knew very well. And the other thing about this was that, God forbid, and nobody wanted this, but if a couple were to break up, say like what you'd call divorce, what it took is the woman would just simply take his belongings and set them outside the lodge, and it was over. Everybody understood this isn't working, it's over. They had no business there. So, but nobody, that was a pretty rare thing that went on. But these women are the ones who pretty much put the headmen in place. They were the ones that gave the recognition. And so it's a big stark contrast. You could think of today, what would happen if only women could vote in the United States? You would have a totally different United States. I mean, the boys, the men, those guys, over half the budget that is taxed and brought into Washington, D.C., and these House representatives and senators vote on spending this money, over half of that is for boy toys, is for jets, tanks, and such. So that, and they pretty much control it. So that's where most of the money goes. Everybody, that's the fact of life. There are 13 funding authorities. One of them is the Department of Defense, and it gets most of the money. Agriculture, which is big here, is up there pretty good, and that helps development of human resource and human beings. So that's it'd be a start. If women were in charge, I think you'd see more programs that are taking care of homeless, looking at building homes and stuff like that. But we are where we are. So there's a great different philosophy that we have. And I think we had a good one going. It wouldn't bother me if only women could vote. I'm telling you, I think I married a Pine Ridge woman, and she's good. And I'd say I think women have should have a better say even in our tribal leadership stuff. But we do get to vote now, so everybody gets to vote on this stuff. But it is such an opportunity to see the difference in philosophy that we had here, and I think that's what causes some of this disenfranchisement, that we just don't have a system that goes on today. However, you have to do and make good decisions all your life, and that you're living in a society, and in some cases right here, like in Eagle Butte, you're living in a tribal society, but you go off a little bit, Timber Lake, it's a mixture, but you have to negotiate and live cooperatively with people, and it's about being intelligent. If you don't know something, you get informed, and in this situation, we have the voting, although it doesn't seem like it applies to us, I strongly, and as this Rural Ethnic Institute has always promoted this empowerment, our people just have got to do this. So I just want to thank the radio station and the college for letting us host this place right here, and the candidates. You guys done good. You look good, and may the best man and woman that people support, may they go forward and make good decisions for all the people. Tom, you'd like to close?
Well, I was just reflecting. I was born and raised in McIntosh on Standing Rock, and I later served in the Peace Corps. I was the first Peace Corps volunteer out of South Dakota. And the reservations are tough, but compared to the third world, we're very, very fortunate in this nation, and especially to have the opportunity of Native Americans and settler folks working together. I'm very impressed with this panel. Got a couple of old settler guys here. I'm older than all of you, I'm sure, and some young natives. And it's great to see a Republican and a Democratic candidate coming from Indian country. I think that's beautiful, and I think that's going to start changing things in this state. If we could get anywhere near the parity that Montana already has, with 12 of their legislators at roughly the same size as South Dakota, out of our 105, then I think things would be better. But we also have some old horses that grew up here as well who are non-Indian. And I always thought it was of great value to my upbringing that to some extent I had a foot in two cultures. Certainly I don't understand Lakota culture as definitely, certainly as Dave does. But there's some very interesting history. His own grandfather owned the town of McIntosh. Yeah. Oh, she is. Okay, great. Oh, hey, Janine, we just been kind of waiting for you. Go ahead then. Dave? Mute. She's mute.
So am I on there? Am I on there? Or how do we turn him over? Okay, well, let me introduce Janine. This is Janice P's Windy Boy out of, she's a Crow tribal member. And let me say that we were presidents of tribal colleges. Her respective tribe was the Crow Nation, and she led that. And we were both involved in some very critical phases for the tribal colleges that are doing very well today. in regard to they shine together as the American Indian Higher Education Consortium. And Lionel Bordeaux, a giant, he said, I want Dave Archambault to be chairing this, and he had that much power. He had that much power, and that got the vote. They voted me in, and so I was a rookie. And I really learned. I got to work with Janine, and we went to D.C. on more regularly, and worked on trying to get more money, because we were getting, I think it was $1,327 per student, and the legislation out of the United States was to fund tribal colleges that it was up to $5,800, and we were getting $1,300. And I remember Janine, her classrooms in Crow, they had their I'm not lying, they were on benches and bench tables and it was just the bare minimum, and most of the tribal colleges were in that condition. So they've gone greatly. But we also started the American Indian College Fund. We all worked together in New York, went out there several times, and so she's got great history, and she is really a brilliant mind. She's right now she's a faculty member for the tribal college, Little Bighorn College in Crow Agency, Montana. But she, as Tom said, she's done great work in getting the Native vote in Montana, all of it. So without further ado, I'd like to, Janine, we're just visiting, and we'd just like to see your perspective on the tribal vote, getting people to the tribes, why it's a good thing.
Well, good afternoon, Dave. I'm so glad to be able to join you today. You know, to do with advocating on behalf of the tribal nations, all of the people that are enrolled in the tribal colleges, and that's where I kind of step into voter registration and get out the vote. There were some leading issues in the 1980s, and I know that sounds like a long time ago, but some of those issues are just as important today. Local hiring, like when county commissioners hire nurses in hospitals, or school board members are elected and then they overlook Indian candidates for teaching positions. Some of the ways in which our schools conduct and really limit access for our students to a really good education. I mean, there's so many basic ways that elected officials impact our lives in Indian country. I'm particularly struck by the number of ways that our states are now administering programs for children, programs for, well, certainly schools, but all of the ways in which social welfare programs are conducted, they're almost all in state block grants, and our state legislatures have so much to do with all of that. Well, when I began to realize how important voting was in the process of impacting counties, impacting state programs, impacting school boards, that I and my colleagues at Little Bighorn College, we were very interested to start registering voters. And it goes back quite a ways, all over Montana, where the tribal colleges. There's 7 tribal colleges on each of the 7 reservations. And we started working together to register voters. In 1982, once again, it's a long time ago, but there were so many people that were not registered to vote. We were able to register 1,000 new voters in 1982, and surprise, our House of Representatives, we had a candidate running. Her name was Ramona Pease Howe. She's an auntie of mine. And she won a membership in the House of Representatives, and it was a big surprise. But we were able to finally have a voice in the state legislature, and it made a huge difference to have a voice in the consideration of so many issues that come before the state house and the state, the state Senate. So, those are the driving issues. And From that time up till now, from 1980 to 2000, about three, the 7 tribal colleges and local organizing groups were working on voter registration, getting out the vote, and also we worked to look at the way that elections were organized in Montana. And it's probably the same in South Dakota and North Dakota. How are people elected to office? And we realized that a lot of the election schemes, that is the way people are elected to county commissions or school boards, or the state House of Representatives and the Senate, those lines are drawn periodically, probably every 10 years. So we all of us got involved in the redrawing of lines of state House of Representative lines. You know, there's 100 members of our House of Representatives, and those lines are redrawn every 10 years. So starting in 1980, especially with leadership at Blackfeet and also at Crow, we sent delegations to the Reapportionment Commission to try to get Indian majority districts in amongst those 100 House districts and among the 50 Senate districts. Okay, so every 10 years they redraw the lines in Montana. And we were able to, starting in 1980 in that Apportionment Commission, get 2 members of the House and 1 member of the Senate, those lines redrawn. So there was Indian majority districts. That made all the difference in the world. So in 1984, we were able to successfully get a senator elected from Northern Cheyenne and Crow Country. And also our representative was returned in 1984. And that was the beginning of what has come about today. Now, okay, that was in 1980. In 1990, we added 2 more representatives and 1 more senator in the reapportionment process. And in the year 2000, I myself was presiding officer of the Apportionment Commission. And so we were able to, through the process of hearings, and it's an independent citizens commission, add 2 more members of the House and 1 more senator. So now we have we're apportioned in such a way in Montana that we have a good opportunity, a very good opportunity to elect members of the House and the Senate to the state legislature. And as Tom mentioned earlier, we're able now in our present day legislature to find a proportionate representation in our state legislature. So we have 7 members of the House and 4 members of the Senate that are American Indian. We have a caucus that is actually, our percentage in the last census was 6.3% of the population. But we also have a member of the House and a member of the Senate that have been elected. Mr. Morgeau was represented Salish and Kootenai, but he's been elected in Missoula to the state Senate. So that adds to the 3 other senators that we have that are Indian. And also we have a Crow / Lakota man. He is elected in the city of Butte to the House of Representatives. So that's why our total comes to more than 9. It's 11. And it's a great thing to have that kind of voice and vote in the state legislature. But, you know, we've had a lot of work to do on the ground. Over time, since 1980, we've had 10 lawsuits that have been brought locally. In our state, we've sought protection under the Voting Rights Act to change the way elections are conducted in our state. On a statewide basis, we have Windy Boy versus Bighorn County that I was the lead plaintiff in that with 6 other Northern Cheyenne and Crow plaintiffs. And we got the federal court to redo the lines in Bighorn County, which is where the Crow and Northern Cheyenne live, and redo the lines in Hardin's school district. And there's Northern Cheyenne and Crow students in that school district, educating 75% of our children. Now, that was back in the 80s. Now, later, we have a lawsuit, Old Person versus the state of Montana, and that was about the redrawing of lines in Glacier and Lake County and getting those House and Senate districts drawn. That wasn't a successful lawsuit, but it was extremely important in advocating for the rights of our voters to have the opportunity for representation. Another statewide lawsuit was brought about by Woodrow Bryn, who's a veteran living in Wyola, Montana, but he was associated with veterans on 3 other reservations, to have satellite polling places that our tribal members could easily cast their ballots instead of going all the way to the county seats, which is really, in rural locations out in Montana, it can be a lot of miles. In our county, it could be as many as 50 or 60 miles away from where people live. So we were successful in getting satellite polling places on 5 of the 7 reservations. Also, school boards have been organized, and school board elections are very important when it comes to the delivery of really equal access for education for our children. And so I already mentioned the Hardin School District, but Ronan on the Salish Kootenai Reservation was reorganized. So there's an Indian majority member of the board of their school. Ronan is in the western part of Montana. And up north, where the Assiniboine and Sioux people live, there are the Wolf Point School Board was taken to court and went to the federal district court over there in Great Falls. And that is a very important case. They reorganized successfully. The court ordered that school district be reorganized so there'd be Indian majority zone to elect a school board member. And our counties, there's been lawsuits also. First of all, Bighorn County, that was in the 80s. In the early 90s, Blaine County, that would be where the Assiniboine and Gros-Ventre Fort Belknap Reservation is. Blaine County was reorganized, and they have an Indian majority county commissioner district. Also, Rosebud was reorganized, and that didn't go to court, but the lawsuit was filed, and they now have one of 3 county commissioners that's an Indian majority district. So all of this work has been going on since the 1980s on all 7 reservations. We all have been working together. We've learned from our experiences in voter registration and get out the vote. And about 10 years ago, we decided we needed to organize a consistent organization, one that would be freestanding as a nonprofit organization, and it's called Western Native Voice. Western Native Voice, I'm a founding board member of Western Native Voice, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And we have been in existence for about 11 years. We do work in education of voters, but education on a broader basis and amongst our American Indian community. And we do engagement, that is inviting people to volunteer about various issues in their communities. We advocate on behalf of issues, and we're also training leaders, both youth leaders and our community leaders. Those would be 4 areas that we're working in: education, engagement, advocacy, and leadership. We have established a very strong media presence. We're on Facebook. If you go to your Facebook search, you can just enter Western Native Voice and come up with the most recent post in our Facebook. And right now, we're very anxious to get our voters to the polls. We have local organizers who have posts on Facebook about where to call if you need transportation or if you have a question about your voter registration. And of course, all the information about polling places on every reservation, as well as in Montana cities. We've had a person who's stationed at the legislature to interview our Indian legislators about issues that people care about. And so you go to our website and you can listen to the most recent interview with the legislators that are working on bills that really affect our Native American people all around Montana. We have an organizer for all 7 reservations and 4 cities, and they each, on each location, we have a group of about 10 or 12 workers that work on registering voters and get out the vote. We also work in partnership with other organizations in Montana, like the Northern Plains Resource Council for environmental issues, or the Montana Conservation Voters. And so our partners and us, we work on all of these issues together. We also sponsor some major community events. We have big dinners during certain seasons, like we had for Indian Citizenship Act anniversary. We had a parade in downtown Billings, and we had a participation of some 30 floats and up to 1,000 people viewing that parade. It's just really, really important to bring our community together. We've got about 70,000 American Indians in Montana, and to some extent, we're scattered around in the 7 reservations and the cities, but we also know that from the last census, over half our people are in the cities in Montana. So we're all over the state, and we really are a part of, the state life in Montana. And I'm just narrating all of this to tell you just how much advocacy and action is going on in American Indian, in Indian country, which is Montana. And our executive director of Western Native Voices, Ronnie Jo Horse, a Cheyenne professional. And we're very, very anxious to continue our work in the upcoming years to come. We're now 11 years old, and I guess we could say we're maturing as an organization, but it's on the shoulders of all the work that Native people have done in all these lawsuits and reorganizing on a local basis, all those various elections that affect our lives, electing officials. And just to give you an example, well, first of all, 3 of our 7 reservations are contiguous with counties, and they're majority Indian counties. So now we have many county commissioners, we have county treasurers, we have sheriffs who are American Indian, and but to organize and get those candidates running and make sure that the voters get out, that's what it takes. Your voice is your vote. And if you don't take up that privilege, then you don't have an impact on the way all of the ways the schools are conducted, or the counties deliver their services, or the state legislature writes the bills that impact our lives. So from my view, your voice is your vote. And it's a lot of years, I'm 75 years old now. I started really working in advocacy when I was 30 years old. But I got into my first campaign before I was able to vote when I was in high school. I just really believe in action and getting involved, engaged, in community affairs. So that's kind of an overview of some of the things that have happened in Montana. And I'm very anxious to have the conversation with you all, because I believe that I see that every state could be this well represented in their legislators, but it's a lot of hard work. It's very serious matters, though, as your legislators have talked about in the previous interviews. Some of these issues are on the ground, so important, affecting our children, our moms and dads, the way people live in our communities. So it's, it's very important. There's one more thing, is that in many of our states, a lot of these candidates are very close. Like here in Montana, our U.S. Senator, John Tester, he's up for election, and it's likely to be a very close election. And we've had very close elections in Montana. We tend to elect people by personality and by leadership, not so much by party. There was a member of the House of Representatives named Pat Williams. And the people on this call probably remember he was very, very strong on Indian affairs. And his last election, his concluding election, came down to about 10,000 votes, which is about the number of Native American votes that were cast in that election. And it really makes a difference to have a member of Congress who's very strong on Indian issues. Of course, federal legislation immediately impacts American Indian policy in so many ways, whether it's the Indian Child Welfare Act, or if it's Indian Religious Freedom or the Tribal Colleges Act appropriations. There's so many things. Our housing authorities and how much money is appropriated. There's so many things before the U.S. Congress. So, Pat Williams he said, I'm thankful there were all those Indian voters, because the rest of the voters in Montana were evenly split. That election could go either way. But when the Native American vote came in on behalf of a candidate that really stood for the issues that were important to Indian country, it made the difference, and he was elected. And we think that this year in the election with Tester and his opponent, the Indian vote is really going to make that difference, because our state looks like it's about, split right down the middle for those two candidates. So that's where it really makes a difference. And I know some voters say, oh, we just don't have very many voters. Sometimes people from Lodgegrass, that's my hometown, they say, well, we've got about, maybe 600-700 voters down here. In the grand scheme of things, how could that make a difference? Well, our county attorney, for example, one year came down to 36 votes difference. That's just how close some elections can be, and electing someone that really cares about Indian people and the issues that really make a difference in our lives. So I just say, yes, your vote matters. And I always think of it in a terms of, yeah, go ahead.
Our organization, we are organized, and we do have, I think the radio stations are set up where if you need a ride, you can call in, and they'll give it a list. They'll feed you who he is in your district that can help out, get you to the polls. So it's a great thing. You are the role model, and everybody knows that, and it's been just a wonderful story of Indian empowerment into the it is reality. We have to do this. We have to make our voices known. So with that, I'd like to conclude this forum. I want to thank again the candidates that we've had here. It was very informative. I enjoyed the answers that I heard, and I want to thank Tom and the other group that are helping to set this up. So with that, we're going to close off and wish you guys all a good day, and